to go into mobile stuff. It's not Happy Fun Rainbow Land. It is sometimes. Like, stuff can go real well, but I don't know. I don't know if it's like just an engineering thing or if it's like a games development thing, but a lot of the time you get just people who are super quote-unquote important all over the place. And what I found a lot of the times that happens is a lot of people say how everything they do is difficult, and they somehow, like, if your team somehow allows somebody who is... You're destroying my dreams. Now what'll happen is, like, it really depends on your managers. It always depends on if your managers have their heads screwed on and actually care about people doing a good job, you're going to have a good time. A good example is we had one guy who was doing UI stuff, and like everything was just super difficult. Like everything he did was, okay, we gotta like stop the world, and I gotta get this really important change through. And everything was always an emergency. And because he hyped it up so much, right, like managers kind of actually bought into that what he was doing was super important and critical all the time and like real difficult. They're like, oh man, this guy's really good at what he does. And like the reality was the guy sucked at what he did. And everything was always difficult and super ridiculous and important to get through because he wasn't doing a very good job, not because it was actually super critical. So if you have managers who actually kind of know what they're doing and can kind of step back and be like, this guy is blaming the problems instead of, solving them, and then there'd be people on the team who just get their work done and go home and just always deliver everything on time. And they're just like, that guy's just, run-of-the-mill engineer person. You'd be like, no, that guy's actually the silent workhorse who you're not paying attention to. So it can get into situations like that where you've got a bunch of prima donnas who think they're hot shit, and the managers all buy off on that, and they're actually the worst. They're the people on your team screwing everything up. But none of my teams were like that because we only cared about solving problems. I'm gonna go play TF2? Yeah. Can't deal with this reality. I'm gonna go shoot some dudes and get some hats. Alright, cool. So I've got my kind of grab bag of bugs. So what I want to do is I want to set up a developer login flow. So what I got right now for login looks like this, where it logs in with Twitch. I want to get a developer login page, and I want to be able to just like hit a button and just auto log in. So how am I going to do that? I need a login system that allows developer login. So I've got this OAuth login service, which has the actual web server, and then I've got this login thing, which has Twitch, Google, and developer, and we got this login request. The login request takes auth provider and a code. So what I need is a specific code to be able to log in as a specific user, and I need to be able to snag that and send it. So how do I want to do that? Well, I could have like a secret key token thing in the database. Because right now I've got like these accounts and all that stuff. I've got like the mapping of like my dude with Twitch. So I think I need like a developer login thing, and I could like pass a secret key from the client and just be like, well, you need a secret key, and then I could just like give the secret key to like Adam or something. Alright, so I need another thing here. Alright, so I need another database table. So I have set up a massive amount of autogen for this project, which allows me to do all sorts of crazy stuff. So what I can do here is I can actually set this up without too much work. So let's get all our config going. So we're gonna need an object. So what I'm gonna want is a developer login. I need a new object. It's gonna be like a developer login. Mapping. So I'm going to need an external name, an external ID, external name, external ID, and then a secret token. Alright, so that's the object. So I'm going to need to define the database stuff for it. So we've got our game database, which has got this, and we're going to have a developer login mapping. The table type is going to be developer login mapping. And so we'll have developer login mapping. And the primary keys are going to be, I need external source. So it's going to be external source, then external ID, I believe. So I'm just going to switch these around. External source, external ID is the keys. External source, external ID. Alright, cool. And we do not have a check and set value. We don't need one. Alright, so what I can do here is go ahead and stop my services. I run my whole autogen system. And what it's going to do is it's going to make everything. It's even going to generate the SQL tables and SQL commands and everything else that I need to access all my data. Alright, so I've got my gen set up. Let's go to our outputs. Let's go to our SQL. So I can just create this table thing here. So now we have a developer login mapping thing here. So I'm going to add in this database my self. So I'm going to have a secret token here in the database, but what do I want to do with this? Like, how do I want to store the secret token in the DB? I think what I want to do is I don't want to actually store the unencrypted token in the database. I think I'm going to call KMS and encrypt this thing with a specific context. So what I'm going to need is I'm going to need another object on here. So there's going to be like the secret token, and then there's also going to be the token context. So I'll go ahead and do that. And let's go ahead and drop the table. What's this getting all pissed about? Unable to delete output directory. Alright, so we've got our table. So what we're going to want to do is we need a call to create the actual thing. So we need to add to our services, we need like a create token and then a and all that. So why don't we add it to the auth service? So let's have a create developer token. Yeah, create developer login token. Alright, so auth internal, so basically you have to be like Superman user to do this. It's not even going to work if you're logged in externally. It's only going to work if you're going over like ACL protected routes, you know, like physically on the box itself. So what we're going to want is the external source, the external ID, and the external name. That's going to be in the request. And what's the response going to have? Response is going to have the we need the secret token. No, it's going to be like the unencrypted token or something? Is that what we're going to store? What should I store locally? Because I'm trying to think about this from a security perspective. What we want is a token that we can verify. And we could just have like a blob there. But I don't want to store it in the database in case like we accidentally have a database thing there. So we want to have something else. Like we want to decrypt the client token. So we need like a client context. Yeah, okay. So we'll have a secret token that gets returned, but we're gonna want two different things. We want like this shouldn't be a client context, and then we should have a server context. And what we'll do is we'll decrypt both of these things and compare them in memory. So if you had access to the database, you could not re-engineer what a client token would look like. And the secret token will also contain all the information about it. So you can't just like randomly make your own. It's going to have to be validated and everything. So client context, server context. And all we do is return the client, the token, and alright, that makes total sense. This will be pretty good actually. I'm liking it. Cool. So let's go ahead and generate all that garbage. Alright, so we've auto-generated out our bindings and everything else, so we can now implement our call. Alright, so the other thing here is create developer login token. We're also going to need login, which is going to take auth provider, auth code. The auth code is going to be the actual string that we'll be able to validate. So that's excellent. Alright, cool. So we just need to create developer token. So what we're going to do is we need to get the database. So we're going to, alright, if request dot external ID equals null. Let's do our basic error handling stuff for platform calls. This is going to be craft client error, invalid message. Alright, so we're going to need the configuration stuff for this. Alright, so we have services, auth, let's do authentication, let's see, developer, authentication. We are going to have, what is our material? So I'll have our client context, I'll have our server context, we'll have our, we'll enable developer login, client context, server context. We're going to need the KMS credential, and we'll need the KMS key. And I don't know if I'm storing my credential yet, so let me go look that up. Alright, here we go. That's our credential. Let's just do we'll have a replacement there for that. Alright, what's going to be the KMS key that we're going to use? I need to actually go figure out which key I need. Well, I guess I need to actually log into AWS to look at what I need here. Alright, so we got an IAM. We're gonna snag our encryption keys. I need the actual Dashkin services key. Let's see, what key do I actually use here for all these things? So I think that'll be our KMS key. Alright, so we need our KMS client. So I'll need to grab our credentials for this, so KMS equals new, wd KMS, and we'll get our AWS credentials for our configuration value, which we just made. I have indirection for everything, so like how you're supposed to deal with credentials in like a service environment is you're not supposed to ever like hard code them, don't put your stuff in configs. All this is like stored in password safes and stored in KMS and encrypted config files. Like I don't even know what the passwords are for any of this stuff. Like they're just all auto-generated and crap like that. So I never know anything. Which is how you're supposed to do security. If you don't need to know it, then you can easily reset it and just set the system to use it. And if you ever lose them, you can't lose something you don't know. Alright, so we are going to want this to be our KMS key. And we're also going to have a class that actually represents the actual key, because what we're going to do for the key is we're going to make this thing into something. So we're going to have what our actual object here is what we're going to need. So we'll actually snag that auto-generated object, and we're going to store that. Like the encrypted thing, the actual secret key is itself, when you decrypt it, tells you what it is. So the key is not only itself, is not only a secret key, but it also tells you what the key is. And we can't even decrypt that. We have to actually send that to KMS to decrypt it. So that validates that the key is true, and also gives us exactly what the key has in it. Alright, so the client context is going to be the client context, server context, and we're going to replace this timestamp with our timestamp. So we'll default this thing to basically just the timestamp itself, and then we will replace it in there. Alright, so the external ID is going to be request.external ID. External name. Alright, so we need the actual secret token. Secret token is going to be nothing, because this is inside of the actual key. The key itself does not contain itself. So we do mkms.encrypt to base 64. I want our key ID, which is this thing. Our material, which is going to be the name of this thing. Which is going to be, we're going to encrypt it twice. So we're going to need our actual data. So So we have to encrypt it. So this will be string like client key and string server key. So we're going to use that client context, and we're going to use that server context. And those will be our keys. So we need to store the stuff in the database. Alright, so let's do our error handling. And then we should be able to put this stuff into the database. Alright, so now insert into developer login mapping. Alright. Alright, so error in creating new developer login token. If we can't insert it in there, so what we want to do is we're actually gonna first check if there's already an entry, and that's gonna be on, we're gonna need a specific key for that. So let's create our search term, and this is a MySQL database, but I have generated all these things. So like this insert into mapping actually creates a call, and I've already like auto-generated all this stuff to create the SQL commands for me using prepared statements and everything. So if you're like, oh man, these database calls are super easy, you'd be like, yeah, it's because I set up a whole bunch of auto-gen shit, which makes it that way. Usually you'd be here like making your, you know, select star from blah where, and then like using question marks and prepared statements and everything, but we're not scrubs, so we don't have to do that. And the cool thing is, with all the generated code stuff, is everything that gets changed isn't going to compile. Alright, so we're going to get this. Alright, so if query.inError. Alright, so if query.has one, yeah, we'll like get first equals null. Then we want to just go ahead and do our insert. Otherwise, what we're going to do is we'll do our update. Alright, so if everything goes fine, let's just log it out. Successfully created developer key for request.external name. And we're going to return OK with our response. What is our response going to be? It's going to be this create developer login token response. And the secret token is going to be the where is it? The client key? And when we save this key, we need to actually set new key. So the secret token is going to be the server token, so we need to set the server key right here. Alright, so that should create our key and do everything we need. So let's boot it up and call it. Alright, so I need to make a client here to actually call this. So let's just make a new. This thing's showing. So I'm just copy pasting from another class real quick. So we'll just make a quick test client, which will for stuff. So I'm gonna do so I'll just make a key here. And what we want to do, the protected port is in this. So host, we're just going to do c.get string services.endpoint.host. The port is going to be getInt. I'm looking at my config file. It's services. Protected service dot port, and boolean SSL is going to be c.getInt. Services, yeah, got a typo right here. Services dot protected service dot HTTP SSL. Alright, so let me see, what is the TCP client? We don't want the TCP client, we want the WD auth HTTP auth service client. Host port SSL. Alright, so and this is just kind of, this is made for service work, so it's a little bit more complicated than you, like a fire and forget client. So it takes a little bit of typing here to get set up, but it's meant to be like high performance and specific, so it's not as simple as it could be otherwise. Let's get our imports set up here. Alright, and instead of just printing that out to the logs, I'm going to actually print it out to a file. So I'll go ahead and store this in a location that I can actually deal with properly. Let's just make sure we're not printing that out for everybody in Twitch to know what a secret key I've got. So I should be able to actually get this rolling. Because the client secret key that we care about, that's actually the thing that is kind of the secret. Hello, Frosty Has. I am doing well. I'm working on some platform stuff right now. Working on getting a developer login flow so I don't have to log in with Twitch all the time when I'm working. Alright, I obviously got the wrong thing. It's just protectedservice.http. Yeah. Alright, that's the right port. SSL. Failed to create developer login token. Yay. Yeah, what I've got right now is you finished your trailer? Awesome. Yeah, we kind of switched up what we're doing for our game, so now we're really focused on creating this kind of multiplayer, kind of arcade style game to start with, using the platforming mechanics. So I've been working on multiplayer. So like I got the login flow right now, where I can log in with Twitch and do all that for my account. I'm logged in and I'm running a local server with a local database and everything else. So if there were other people, I could like send messages in chat and all that sort of bullshit, and like find people online and go matchmake and play games with them. But I don't want to have to click the login with Twitch button. So let's see, why did it fail here? Error discovering duplicate keys. Select star from platform logging mapping where external sources, blah, external ID, limit to 1000, table, developer login mapping doesn't exist. Oh, well that's because it doesn't exist yet. Alright, well I generated all that stuff, so let's go snag it. Yeah, just PM me the link there, and I'll post it there. I got it so it automatically deletes stuff. Because, people post all sorts of random crap into people's channels. It's not always the most wholesome content. Alright. So what you got going on here? Oh, it looks cool. Yeah, very nice. What's even scarier there is I used to have, when I was working at Amazon, one of the guys people just started posting browser links. Oh yeah. One of the guys I worked with was, who was a project manager guy. His last name was Whiteside. So and he was kind of a scary dude. So I'm imagining him as a psycho killer, and I can picture it. So it's pretty awesome. So I need to snag the autogen for this thing, because we got our C++, our bindings for our platform autogen. So let's go make our table. There we go. Now the table exists. So let's see if we can create that token. It again failed. Unknown column client context in field list. Did that not actually create the right table? Yeah, Notepad didn't reload my changes, so screwed that up. Yeah, it looks like you've been doing a lot of good work, dude. Like that's pretty impressive that you're grinding away at it, getting it done. Data too long for column secret token at row 1. Oh yeah, good. All right, I've got a length modifier which I need to put on this object. God, where is this crap? All right, it's just called length on this variable. Alright, so maybe I'll be able to get this thing working then. Let's autogen this out. I'll give it 8K. A lot to do first game, so you're learning as you go. Well, that's the way to do it, is to just start working on stuff and keep working on stuff until it's all awesome. Awesome, so there's my length that came in here. And let's remake that table. Such a pain in the ass if I had to like do all this stuff by hand. Alright, so my template file, obviously. Let's just go fix that. Can't put commas in there. So to do that free marker, you just put a question mark C. And when I do my gen, it no longer has a comma. Awesome. Alright, so let's snag this. Alright, it actually worked. So I'm gonna go look and make sure the token actually looks somewhat sane here. It is a big long stream of gobbledygook, which is exactly what we want. And then when we look in the database, our secret token is in there. So the cool thing is, like, with this authentication system, it doesn't matter if I like show people what's in the database. So I can like actually show like, yeah, this is a client ID and this is the secret token in the database, and I can just like post that for all the world to see. And that doesn't matter. Like the secret, this is like public-private pairing crap, so I don't have to worry about streaming some of this, because what matters is that client key being secret. And then I use an external thing. I can't even decrypt that. I don't even know how to decrypt that. So it's not a problem. Alright, so if we do developer login, we need to now implement that. Yeah, that's what happens when you work at a company like Amazon for a while. You learn a lot about cybersecurity you never would have learned otherwise. Alright, so when we log in as a developer, this is just going to be developer. Okay, so log in with Twitch. Alright, cool. Have a good one. Enjoy the rest of your day and stream. I hope you don't get stuck on horrible, vexing bugs. Alright, so let's do our if mkms equals null. We're going to craft our error of like, actually we should be, yeah, this is forbidden is what I'm going to return. I don't want to give it much information. Client, let's see, developer login is enabled, but able to access KMS. Alright, so we have the auth code. The auth code in this case is the base 64 encrypted thing. So what we want to do is we want to do like mkms